good morning. We've got Newton Insider, episode 4. We are talking about how to win the bidding war. A million offers coming in on properties, and we have our incredible real estate professionals from Coldwell Newton. We've got Souzan Davood, Kevin Eagar, Valerie Wastcoat, and Deb Stein. Welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Super excited. So Souzan, why don't you get us started? What do buyers need to think about when entering this market?
What's important is to find the right agent to partner with, because the right agent will take you to the start all the way to the closing table. And I think that's super important. And the right agent will talk to you through the entire process, like getting pre-approval. And also when submitting an offer, I found that the timing is super important. Be the first person to submit the offer, work with your client, find your client. If you're sending the offer, make sure that it's signed on a timely manner and have all your paperwork and build relationship with the listing agent. Ask the right question, because not every seller's timeline is the same as the other one, and get to know what suits the seller best so they know you are an easy buyer to work with. And building the relationship with the listing agent, because not every seller wants, like I had a cash buyer and she thinks by putting 10-day closing will win. It doesn't work that way. We have to know what the seller needs and wants are and work on that term. And also and the seller, I think, is very important to note that you're an easy buyer to work with. That because throughout the transaction, things could come up, and being able to work together, I think it's super important.
Well, the seller wants to get to the finish line. I always say, right? Like the seller wants to make sure that they get to the closing table.
Yeah.
Right. And getting organized and being prepared. Kevin, what do you think?
That's a very good point. It's great to be here. I think that having a good buyer's agent is critical in this market, especially if the market is competitive. And we often see many competitive markets happening here in our area, our market area, across price points. So I think that's critical. One of the things that a good buyer's agent does, irrespective of the market, is they understand the specifics of the market, in my opinion. So that requires some research. And as we all know, we have great access to raw data for whatever time period we want to look at, historical or current. And we can really hone in on the specific market for that specific property at that specific time. So I think it's really important to take that time, even if we feel rushed to put an offer together for somebody, if there's a short timeline. I think it's really important to know what's happened most recently, what are really the relevant comps, and to share that with the buyer and walk them through what your rationale is.
That leads me to what I wanted to talk about, which is part of the process, like Souzan said, getting pre-approved and being prepared. Also, it's getting out there and seeing all the property. So by the time your house is the house that's yours, you'll know the minute you walk in. So it's sort of a process, and it's like a process of elimination. So you have to go out there and see everything on the market. You get to know the market. You have all your ducks in a row. And when that property shows up, you're going to know, and you'll be prepared to just make your offer. It's going to be a good offer. You'll know what in your gut, what you want to do and what you want to offer. And you'll know, I don't want to lose this. It's worth an extra $5,000. It's worth an extra $10,000 to me. And you'll put your best foot forward. And that's the way I think that you get the house that you want.
No, you're right, Val. Absolutely. Yeah. Deb, what do you think?
Well, our offer is a package, and the package contains different components. So we have the price, that's simple. We have the terms, and most people think terms are mortgage contingency, inspection contingency. Those are the typical things. But then there's another aspect that you can include in your offer that will make your offer stand out and perhaps win the property for you. And that is to try to de-stress the transition for the seller as much as you possibly can. So it's important for the buyer agent to have a conversation with the listing agent about what sort of things are really important, because selling and moving is a totally stressful thing. Also, if the seller is going to close on the 5th of the month for their new home, you can offer to close on the 4th of the month to make that day less stressful, because to close on 2 properties in one day and move is, I can attest to this, a really, really stressful thing.
I also think actually having an agent by your side, I think it's our job that we're not going to get emotional. You can really, as a buyer, get caught up in emotions and the game in a way, and it's our job to be the rational person that is looking at past sales, trying to figure out, okay, where are the other parties going to come in at, and to stay focused on the data and your relationship with the other agent and not get caught up in the emotion.
Right.
And Val, what do you think? Yes, I'm sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
No, that's okay. I was going to say there are 2 other points that I think are important in my role with buyers when we go to submit an offer to be aware of. I think one other element is the sort of the administrative part of it, actually packaging up the offer.
Yes. I was going to say that.
You're right.
As a listing agent also, it is very important and nice to be able to just print out one PDF.
One PDF.
You can do that. It's just very helpful.
You're so right. Go ahead, Kevin.
As a listing agent, I've received, different emails from the same buyer's agent with a blurry photograph of a check in one, and then, an I love you letter in another, and it's not all collated. And then that means I have to, and I'll do it when that happens.
Of course.
I package it up so that it's organized for my seller. But knowing that experience I have as a listing agent, it makes me insist upon being that much more organized and making sure that we have everything that is required and that it is submitted in a timely fashion, so that I'm conveying, not explicitly, but through my actions, that I'm on top of this and doing this professionally, and here is our offer.
I agree.
The other thing I want to say is that I think another job that we have is a little bit counselor role with buyers, irrespective of the market that it's in. And that has to do with really understanding, do you like the property? How much do you like the property? And what are you willing to do to get the property?
Along with accommodating them, just find out what's important to them. For example, if the house has a lot of junk in the attic and basement, and you know that you're going to be doing a remodel and getting a dumpster, you can offer for the seller to just leave whatever junk they want and not have to leave the house in broom clean condition. And that has worked for me in the past, where sellers are like, oh, thank God I don't have to, worry about getting the house completely cleared out and clean. And these are the little things that sometimes bring you over the finish line. So if you find out what's important to the seller and then try to be accommodating, if possible.
And actually, I wanted to add something. The great point, everyone. I'm learning as well from everybody.
Totally.
I think back to partnering with the right buyer agent, sitting down with your agent and having that dialogue so you can educate your buyer the entire process. So you are moving in, working as a team. So, and also in regards to inspection, I know almost everybody is eliminating the inspection contingency. Sometimes you get only that one chance, 15 minutes window, right, to preview the property. Get an inspector with you or a contractor, someone who is familiar with the process. And so you can eliminate the inspection contingency. I think that's super important. So you don't want to go in like blindsided, but have an inspector with you when you're previewing, so you know that you can eliminate that.
It's important, like you said, to have some of these tradespeople that you know in your back pocket as a buyer's agent that you can just reach out to if somebody needs something. Like Deb said, if you need to clean up and maybe the seller doesn't want to, you as the buyer, can say leave it just so you can get the house. And then Deb, you could give them the person that can help remove all those things if they didn't have a dumpster. So yeah, I think that's important too.
And Valerie and Deb, you both mentioned about making sure that this process is easy for the seller. Being on the listing side a few times, I know agents had offered and given me like quick deadline.
Yes.
I personally like to work with agents that they are easy, they understand, they're familiar with the market, and they are not rushing me or my seller. So be kind. Of course, we are all working on behalf of our clients, but also understanding the other side, what is important for them. And so again, they know
That's a
that
very
this
good
is
point.
an easy process.
Yeah.
Can I offer one other?
Yes, we'd love it, Kevin.
I have here. So in the end, the goal is for a buyer to, land and find a property. And in our market right now, in many of our markets, as we all know, we've said a few times during this conversation, it's not as easy to do that. But I think that would be the case if it were not as competitive. I think that it's important for me to signal to buyers, and I find myself doing it, especially during this market, that listen, a property is like a bus. There's always another one that will come by.
No, I like that.
If it
That's
doesn't
true.
work out at this time,
So true.
don't worry. You'll wait for the next bus and see what happens.
Right.
And it will come together. There's
Not
going to be,
manual.
right. There's going to be, like we just said, in certain properties, certain deals, if you have a financing contingency, there's just no way you're competing with some cash offers. But the next property, you might be competing against people that have exactly the same terms as you, financing, inspection, and whatever else. And at that point, you can figure out a way that you can win. And Deb, you just had that experience where you guys submitted how many offers before it was accepted?
We had 7 rejections and we won the 8th bid.
Yeah.
Perfect.
All above asking and all with a mortgage and an inspection contingency. So,
Very good.
So if we just go back and we give one word of advice or one sentence of advice to buyers right now out there, who made a decision that they're going to buy a home in 2021, what would you say, Souzan?
Work with the right agent and trust your agent because we've been through this process. That would be my advice.
Kevin?
I would say be objective, open-minded, do your research, and just trust that the right house will appear that will compel you to act.
Love that. Val?
I would say stay the course. Just don't get discouraged and keep going.
Deb?
Again, I want to reiterate that you should make it as stress-free as possible and get the seller to really like your buyer, really bond with your buyer. And one thing we didn't mention today was love letters. And I think it's really important to include a letter from the buyer to the seller, telling them why they like the house, complimenting things that they've done, whether it's paint colors or the way they've arranged the backyard or whatever, and assuring them that you're going to take care of their cherished home. And
I agree with everyone, and you guys have been an amazing panel, and thank you so much. And we wish all of our buyers good luck, and give us a call if you need any assistance. And thanks for spending the morning here with us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you for having us.
Good to see you guys.